Superman just dropped in the big 25. I went into this one not knowing what to expect, partially because I never really was the biggest fan of Superman. I was really only ever exposed to the most recent movies growing up in the 2000s, and those were always ranging from bad to okay. But even him as a character never really impressed me. Like, literal god mode guy that you need to wave a green glowing rock in his face to press him even a little bit. Don't care, hard pass. I'ma watch Spider-Man 2. So when James Gunn told us again and again that this was going to be a very different Superman than what we're used to on the big screen, I was intrigued. Plus, very bold words considering how much more serious our previous Superman in the DCEU was. That Superman was played by Henry Cavill, who was a very beloved casting choice. So the pressure was on for James, our new Superman, David Corenswet, and really everyone involved. I should mention before this video picks up that this does contain spoilers, so I recommend you watch the movie before going further into the video. But shit, if you're trying to raw dog the video, no. Okay, I'll stop.
What?
Now the $1 million question is, did this one deliver?
Oh, it delivered. Delivered like a nice hot pepperoni pizza in the middle of the night.
This movie, in my humble opinion, was a slam dunkaroonie. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't know how well Superman would pair up with James Gunn and his wacky comic book movie style, but for me, it was a match made in heaven. It really was exactly what was needed to make Superman and the world he lived in interesting to me. Let's talk about the elephant in the room first, David Corenswet. I think he did a stellar job lacing up the boots. His character too was very well written, and the way he prioritized his duty to protect life on Earth no matter what definitely had the most focus on that than any other Superman in my opinion, and that was a huge selling point on the character for me. And he definitely had the most personality compared to previous Superman, and that definitely contributed to how much I enjoyed the movie. I wasn't sure going in if I was gonna like how Lois Lane was portrayed in this movie, but I think I really liked the alternative take on her where she's a bit more punky and cynical. Clark and Lois had a really good chemistry, and her critical nature towards Clark to keep him in check made their relationship feel layered. Not to mention that she had an independence about her that was not socially on the nose. By no means was she this damsel in distress. She ends up helping save Superman at one point of the movie. Last but definitely not least, I absolutely loved Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor. Now, if we're talking D1 haters, man, this guy absolutely runs the league. The fact that this dude hired a full staff, biologically enhanced his goons, creates a pocket universe, and sparks a whole conflict abroad just to get the chance to kill Superman is diabolical. Lex forms every possible contingency just to be a pain in Superman's ass. Even at the point of the movie where Lex clearly has advantage over Superman, he makes sure that Superman suffers every moment of the way. He was just on another level with that shit. Now, we'll talk more about the cast here and there, but let's get into the plot. I should throw in that this film is not an origin story. The movie starts off with opening text on the screen that sort of gives us the rundown on how the metahumans and Kal-El got there. Then it goes in how he grew up as Clark Kent in a Kansas farmhouse up to the start of the movie where it's told that he was beaten for the first time. As he takes sanctuary in the Fortress of Solitude, Clark has this corrupted video of his parents from Krypton that he would listen to. The video acted as a mission statement for Clark to protect humanity, but later on, Lex Luthor and his team break into the Fortress of Solitude to dig up dirt on Superman, and they find that clip and restore the rest of the video, revealing the true message Clark's original parents gave: to conquer Earth. And Lex wasted no time and has the video play all over the news to expose Superman and to get the people to turn on him, and it totally works. The Superman, being the guy that he is, reacts by turning himself in, thus giving Lex Luthor room to execute his plan to work with the country of Baravia to invade its neighboring country, Jarhanpur. He reveals that this is simply an excuse for Lex to kill Superman. Like all that convoluted planning just to kill Superman. D1 hater. Now there are other metahumans in the movie, the most notable being the Justice Gang, which includes Guy Gardner's Green Lantern, Hawk Girl, and Mr. Terrific. Now, a lesser movie would just make these Superman's buddies, but in here, they really kill it as their own characters. They don't feel confined as Superman's side guys. They're depended on by everyone in the movie just as much as Superman himself. Shit, everybody has their moment to shine in this movie, even Krypto. My personal favorite in the bunch ended up being Mr. Terrific. I think everyone can agree that he was a real surprise in the movie. His personality was hilarious. He really balled out in this movie. When Superman was imprisoned in the Pocket Universe by Lex, he was the only one in the Justice Gang that was willing to stick his neck out for Superman. And during all this, he gets a totally badass fight sequence that has that signature James Gunn touch. Fluid camera movement while keeping those hard impacts on every hit. Hysterical details in the midst of the fighting. And of course, a fat jam playing. A favorite supporting character on the Daily Planet side of things was Jimmy Olsen. On the cover, he's just a normal reporter in the Daily Planet, but as the movie goes on, he gets painted as like this nonchalant womanizer type, which is really over the top, and he just has like these insider connections. Also, having Millie Alcock's Supergirl appear at the end was a very exciting tease to the Supergirl movie set to release next year. The action in this movie, as mentioned before, is god tier. There's not one fight scene in this movie that felt stale or dragged on. You could tell they really had fun with how they drew up these fights. In true James Gunn fashion, this movie has plenty of wild shit, and I love that in this universe it feels totally normalized and lived in. Like, there's legit a scene where Clark and Lois are having a somber moment, and there's just a whole battle between the Justice Gang and some colorful squid alien going on in the background. This movie really does feel like it pops you right in the middle of a comic book as intended by James Gunn. I think the only detrimental part about this is that it feels like there's a bit much going on early in the movie, but as you go deeper into the flick, it does balance itself out. And just to get more nitpicks out of the way too, I thought having Krypto disrupt the final confrontation between Superman and Lex was a bit premature. In that scene, Lex is hitting the ultimate crash out. I thought that it was going to be a good doorway into more of like his lore, I guess, but Krypto attacks him immediately, goes ham, and he's like breaking his arm and shit. It's just not the way I would have preferred that scene to go, but that did have a satisfaction in its own right. Now, as I said before, there is a lot going on in the first half of the movie, and I think what harm that does is to certain parts of Clark's story that feels a bit underdeveloped. I did say earlier that Clark and Lois are a really good pair, but I feel like they aren't explored enough throughout the movie. It at least showed enough to where I understood why Lois was going the lengths she was to try and uncover Lex's plot and save Superman, but in my personal opinion, I would have just preferred to see more of their relationship. Plus, the film doesn't really give you a lot of information as far as Clark's upbringing goes. It gives you breadcrumbs here and there, and there are 2 scenes involving Clark's family, if I'm remembering correctly, and they do address it in the movie in a scene where they're on a phone call with Clark that he has been distant since becoming Superman. But part of me hopes that movies in the future will show a spotlight on these 2 aspects of Clark's life. Also, before it escapes me, I should address what some people have a problem with in this movie, and that's that people think Superman got nerfed or made to be weaker in this movie. Aside from the traditional kryptonite approach, they do put more focus on the conditions to Superman's ability to be at his full power, such as using the sun, which also accelerates his ability to heal, but I wouldn't say he's weaker. For example, his fight with Lex, Ultraman, and Engineer, all those fights were masterminded by Lex, who was established to have studied up on everything Superman does. Bro literally downloaded the moveset and made like keybinds, kinda, of his own specific counters to Superman. Bro, like I said, the one hater. And it later gets revealed that Ultraman is a literal clone of Superman after Lex yoinked his DNA, which answered the question as to why he was getting beat up like that in the first place. By the final fight with him, where it becomes a one-on-one battle, is where you truly see the Man of Steel at his full power. My point being that the way that it's written in the movie, I feel like Superman is often put at a disadvantage in most of the fights, I'd say, other than the fight with the kaiju and that one towards the end, as mentioned before. And though he did need the help from the Justice Gang to take him down, I'm gonna let that one slide, because not only did that introduce the Justice Gang in the best of fashion, but what did you expect? Superman to just punch him, throw him at the sun after? Is that the Superman you want? I would have walked out the theater if that happened. The rest of the movie could have been a 10 out of 10. If I saw him do that to the kaiju, I would have walked back home and turned on Spider-Man 2 again. And which to some people, I get that that's a turnoff. You know, they want to see the all-power mighty hero that they've always known. But with me personally, I think that's always what turned me off about Superman. I felt like there was no stakes to his character ever unless you do the one thing, and that's waving kryptonite in his face or going toe-to-toe with him in a kryptonite-laced suit. There's just never really anything about that interested me, so doing it the way they did in this movie did add the stakes for me, and it made me interested. I was on the edge of my seat the entire time. I think the fact that he wasn't written in a way where he could just one-shot everybody he faced made me actually care. And oftentimes when he was getting beat up, it was because he was making efforts to save others in the middle of these big fights. I mean, I've already gone on about it, but it was always the #1 priority, no matter how much it would physically cost him. That is what truly convinced me that this is the best Superman. Anyways, those are my thoughts on the new Superman movie. I'm gonna rate this one a big boy 9 out of 10. I did my best to get this video out as soon as possible. I've been a busy man, you know, with life. Fuck, it's been so long. Yeah, I know your boy's gotta lock in, but have no fear, we have Fantastic Four coming out very soon, and you already know I'm going to be all over that one. And I got some videos in the works that go beyond the good old movie reviews, so stay tuned for that. If you enjoyed this video, let me know by liking and subscribing, and please drop your opinions down in the comments. Did you love it, or did you think it was utter woke nonsense? I won't know unless you tell me. Anyways, that's it. I'm going to go to my local downtown area and... wait, am I reading this right? Be a good person? Oh, shit. Duty calls.